Hey everybody, welcome. It's Garrett Sussman here. See a lot of familiar faces. How's everybody doing today on this lovely, brisk October day? I'm outside of Washington, D.C. It's relatively cold here, not too bad, but blue, sunny skies. Actually, show you guys. You can see we got a blue skies little situation over there. The leaves are turning. How's everyone doing? Say hi. Make sure I can know that y'all can hear me, and we'll get started in a minute. Okay. Okay. So today we're going to go through the presentation, the landing page, which is adding your logo, removing your business name, adding the header image, adding a picture or a gift to your, or GIF, excuse me, to your review funnel, choosing your layout, using the default templates, which I don't think I've ever gone over before, but I'm excited to do that. That's on the agency plan and above. Some of the Gradeus blog updates, and then answering any questions that y'all have. Okay, so let's dive in. So I feel like for a lot of you, if you've never seen this before, these are some of the basic features that people don't always pay attention to on the review funnel. But if you want to add the logo of your business or your client's business, really simple process. What you want to do is make sure that you click on the funnel when you're logged into the Gradeus account. Naturally, you want to make sure you're on the correct profile, and then you're going to navigate over to setup. Then below the brand business name, below the short name, below the internal ID, you have that logo button. So really just have your logo all set. You'll get the option to put it in there, and then you don't even need to update or anything. You can just add that logo and it'll be added to your review funnel. Now, I always recommend to make sure that you just check the way it looks. So click on the link, head over to the way the review funnel looks both on a normal desktop browser as well as try it out on your phone, just to make sure that the dimensions are exactly what you want them to be. You're going to want to adjust the logo dimensions, so the actual picture file dimensions, to make sure it looks the way you want. There aren't going to be any sort of size dimensions within the actual app. Oops. Let's go back. Okay, next is removing your business name. So as you noticed, when you set up a Gradeus profile review funnel at the very top, you'll have your name will appear in that font as part of the header. You can actually remove that same area. So you go over to the funnel, you go over to the setup, and then you'll see right beneath the logo, it has the part where it says show business name text. Just by unchecking there is how you remove the text for the business name. So I usually recommend this if you're just putting up your own logo and you don't want your text in there, or if you don't want any text in the header, that would be a reason to get rid of it. But if you do, it works effectively. Okay, creating the header image. So this is really important. When it comes to using a header on your review funnel, it is really important that you have the exact dimensions for the file that you want to upload. I recommend, so the dimensions are the 1024 by 138 pixels. It will be resized to fit sometimes, but sometimes it can look off if you don't have the exact dimensions. So make sure it's less than 450 KB. It can be a PNG, it can be a JPEG, it can actually be a GIF. Now, to design it, have any of y'all used Canva? I love Canva. It's such a great tool, and you can actually build GIFs in there. It's free. So it's just canva.com, CANVA.com. Okay, Micheline, you use Canva, love it. So what I'll do is I'll set up, I'll create a new design in Canva. I'll set the dimensions to be that 1024, 138. Then, whatever you want to use, you don't necessarily, well, you can do any sort of designs, whether you want to use a photo or just use any sort of color, put your logo up there in the header. And so I'll actually design the header in Canva. And then I'll go over to Gradeus. You navigate from the funnel to the setup. This is all on that same page. And then if you scroll down, you'll see that header image. Click the header image, you upload your design, and then goes in there, and then you'll see a nice new suite design. And I think it's great, like especially now that we're in the fall season. As you see in this example, I did some leaves. It's nice to switch this up every once in a now and again. Can't talk today. Do something holiday relevant. I think that's a great way, an extra service that you can offer to your clients. Yeah, so basically, now that we're in fall, offer to your clients if you want to go in and just add in any sort of design that helps. Do you have any stats on if a header helps with the review opt-in? Philip, I don't have any statistics. I think that it's the type of design element that you can add without hurting your review opt-in. The one thing that we see a lot when it comes to Grade Us is we do have the ability to add the social links at the bottom of the page. And I actually usually don't recommend people do that, because my perspective with the review funnel is to always focus on one specific CTA. And I feel like if you add the social links at the bottom of the review funnel, it distracts from that main purpose. But any of these design elements aren't distracting. I don't have the stats, but I don't believe it impacts the opt-in in a negative way. I hope that helps. I'm with you. Okay, sounds good. Philip agrees. Okay, next up is adding a picture of a GIF. So this is when you go over to the funnel, to the content area. So this is where you might adjust the messaging. You can actually add a GIF in there. I use Giphy sometimes, or you can actually create your own GIF using Giphy. You can also do this via Canva. The idea would be either you upload your own video. So maybe you did something at the office or your client's office and you want to just share like people waving, or just like a panning of the office, something visual that's enticing, that reminds them of their experience. You would then go over to the content section. In there, select the image to add the picture, and as you can see from Giphy, for instance, you can choose that link source to put right in the picture, and that will drop the GIF right into the review funnel. Another one, Philip, where I actually don't have stats if that impacts it negatively or positively, but I do know that we have a variety of different Gradeus clients that have used it in the past, and anecdotally, they get a lot of fun comments when they do like another opportunity to do holiday stuff. Like if you are doing something fun with your staff where people are dressed up or something Halloween related, I think those can almost act as what Jay Bear refers to as talk triggers. And this is a great review tip in general. I remember we had an interview with Jay Bear a long time ago. He's written a few different books about customer relationships in the digital age, about how you handle different types of reputation, whether it's on social media, review sites. His book was called Hug Your Haters. And then he wrote another book, I believe with Daniel Lemon, who is an expert in the reputation space, called Talk Triggers. And it's this idea of creating really clever, kind of almost gimmicks, if you will, at a business that people will remember. And these are the types of things that actually trigger reviews a lot of times. One example in the book that he gave, which I actually love, was DoubleTree used to do the hotels, used to do the cookies on on the beds, or a lot of the hotels, I forget which one started it, used to do like the Andes mints on your pillow. Little things like that that people come to expect and love about your business that's associated with your brand is the type of things that people would actually write a review about. So if you're consulting with clients and want to generate great reviews, aside from the great service they provide, the great customer support and employees that they have, is thinking of these really like small talk triggers, if you will, things that get them excited, that make them want to share your business with something else. Something that I always remember as a kid growing up, and I don't know if y'all had this at dentists, is I remember going to the dentist. Now, my mom didn't let me go to the dentist with the video game system. So this I guess gives my age. I grew up in like the 80s, and I remember dentists started having like Nintendos or Segas for kids at the actual dentist office. I was before that time. What we had is our dentist always had this treasure chest with filled with plastic toys. And at the end of it, at the end of the dentist appointment, we always got to go to the treasure chest and pick out one of the plastic toys. And I feel like if that still existed in 2020, that's the type of thing that would write a review about. It's like that talk trigger. Another example that he had was there was this restaurant, and when you made your order, they would give you a playing card, and if you got like the Joker from the card that you pulled from the deck at the end of your order, you got like a free milkshake or something, and that became really popular, and people would share that all over the place. So a little bit of a tangent, a roundabout way, but those are some of the talk triggers that I think can help generate reviews. And maybe that's something that you tie into a GIF on your review funnel or something that you even mentioned. Anyone in the audience, have any of you, do you have a client or do you have a business with a talk trigger, with something that you do for every customer that's unique to your business, that sort of stands out, that your customers love, that you'd want to share, that I can share up here? I need to do a poll. I need to reach out to more Gradeus clients and see if people have any sort of talk triggers like that. Philip's like, I don't, but it's a great idea. Well, Philip, when you come up with one for your business, you let me know, and then we can feature it in one of our blog posts, or maybe I should do a blog post about talk triggers. Ooh, Mike. Okay, so Mike is in dentistry, and he says hot towels. That's a real. I never thought about that. It's almost kind of like the sauna feel, Mike, where it's like, is it before or after the appointment that you offer a hot towel? That's fancy. That's like a valuable, like when they offer champagne in first class at the on airlines. I think I've only ridden first class like once in my life. Don't judge. And I think I was too young to have champagne, but I mean, it's the type of things you see in the movies, right? It's like you want to go and you want to sit first class and get served champagne. Anyway, moving on. Choosing a layout. As you all know, oh, okay. So Mike said also before COVID, cookies in the waiting area. That's what I love too. I think cookies in the waiting area is a brilliant idea. Obviously, you have to change all of this stuff with COVID, which actually reminds me, if I don't bring it up at the end of this office hours, I had a great podcast interview for the Agency Ahead podcast that will be coming out Monday with Kanika Thakran, who is in local SEO. She worked with an agency called Milestone Internet, and we were talking all about different holiday related local SEO tactics. I thought it was really interesting to talk to her about her insights about, well, we can talk about this at the end, but some of the messaging that we're starting to see in advertising, her recommendations for how you can handle the holiday season, how you can handle your messaging in the context of COVID, because it's really going to be a unique season, I feel. And I think there are ways to differentiate that are appropriate, and then there are ways that can potentially get you into trouble. So think about that now, everyone who's in the audience, and maybe we can discuss some of the ideas that you've had when it comes to your messaging, your local SEO and local search messaging, as you know, we're already starting to get into the holiday season. So choosing a layout, basically all you need to do is you go on your review funnel, you go to the setup page, and then you scroll down and you choose the setup button, and it'll give you all of these different layouts. Now, I'd be curious to ask you all which layouts you use. Here you go. Click that change button. You've got the big buttons, you've got the thumbs up, thumbs down, the faces, the hearts, the stars, the review first, the NPS. What do you all use for yours or your clients' landing pages that you feel is the most effective? Micheline likes to use the faces. Me, historically, whenever I've set them up, I've used the stars, although I know the hearts are really popular in the healthcare industry. And then before COVID, there was a lot of popularity with the review first, because review first kind of worked as the kiosk mode, where you would, have the iPad in the store in your actual like business location, and you would have the review first mode, and they would fill out the stars and they would fill out the review that they write with their email, and then the the review text would get emailed to them, and then they'd be prompted to leave the review with that text once they left the office, because you didn't want Google necessarily to penalize someone for writing a review from the same IP address, from the same location, because they're aware of that. I haven't seen a ton of places ever actually get penalized for that, but to some extent it's an urban myth. But that is always the potential of, if everyone's leaving a review from the same location, that could trigger some potential fake triggers from Google. So that was the purpose of the review first. It would email the review to you, so the customer could write the review after they've left the office, but still be reminded when they had a great experience. All of these are, you need to find what works for your business. I recommend trying some different ones out. Also, if you did want to not segment, just do the big buttons. I know that became more popular when you're not using Google, because Google doesn't necessarily want you to segment your layouts. That's another, not urban myth. They definitely say that in the terms and conditions, that you shouldn't, only ask a certain subset of customers for reviews, but I've never seen the segmented reviews impact people negatively. Okay, and so this is the final one, which is using default templates, which I don't know. I need to do a better job of marketing this, because it's a really cool feature that's available on our agency plan. The idea is, if you go in your Gradeus account and you go over to the manage button in the bottom left corner, and you'll see these tabs at the top, which is users, profiles, brands, defaults, etc. The defaults on the agency plan, you go over there and you can set up the default that isn't ours. So you could click over and set up your main content to be different from what we use. So say you are working with clients and you find messaging that's really effective, that you think is more effective than the Gradeus default, that you want to use across all of your clients. Or say you specifically work in the healthcare industry and you want the messaging to reflect that you're talking to patients, and so you're going to have the copy for all of your clients refer to patients, or for all in the legal industry referring to clients. You can change that in the defaults, and then, so you see here in the example, by changing that, whenever you set up a new account, you would be able to use that default would automatically be applied. So here's the GIF starting from the beginning. You create the default profile, and it doesn't just have to be the review funnel. You can do the main profile setup, so connect it to your white label, choose the layout, add any custom code, add your power by, go over to the profile contents, add whatever content you want as the default, and then you'll see you can also do the mail templates, the SMS templates, any of the add-ons or reports, have all of that set up by default. You've used it, Micheline, and you found it really handy. That's great to know, because I feel like I need to do a better job of surfacing this feature, because if you're creating a lot of reports or a lot of different profiles and you have a different way of doing things than our defaults, I think it's huge. And I would love for more people to use it if it works for them. So a couple other things I want to bring your attention to is that we added, recently we updated our review management software page, which has all of our white label information. And you'll notice right above here is this ROI calculator, which I think is really cool that you can go in and use. So you go to this link, you'll scroll down the page, and it allows you to kind of do some easy math where you put in the number of seats, and this is all plugged into Gradeus's tiers, how much you pay per seat. But you put in the number of seats, you put in the amount that you would want to charge your clients per seat, and it's a little a little MRR calculator that gives you a sense of your gross margin. So, if you've just started off with Gradeus and you have 3 seats and you're selling to clients, but you want to scale, you can get a sense of what you might want to charge as the price per seat goes down at our volume discounts. So it's like, starting off with the $60 per seat on the professional plan, getting up to that $40 per seat on the agency plan at 10 seats or more. And then ultimately on the partner plan higher is the $25 per seat for 100 seats, and then it goes up even higher where it's like if you get to 500, I believe it's like 23. We have that all on our plans page. So feel free to go and check that out. That's over on the Gradeus home/review management software. And then two of the blog posts that we posted that I'm really excited about. The first one is for selling review management profitably. It's a really cool blog post that our writer Andrew McDermott, who runs his own agency, wrote for us. It talks a lot about the cost associated with running review management as a service for your agency, as well as how much you could charge tying it to Gradeus and the software, and then ultimately how much it takes to break even, and then the services that you can offer that's all connected to that. So I think it was a really well broken down explanation of going from starting to going to selling and making a profit. I think it's always good to evaluate where you're at. I think a lot of our customers anecdotally have had to have a lot of conversations with their existing clients in the context of COVID, and have had to make adjustments, whether it's reducing the price per client because they might have been reducing their budget, or looking into a completely different industry that they're used to. And one thing that I think is really interesting in that article that Andrew wrote is he broke down by industry the potential budgets of different industries for clients to pursue, and how you might want to look into those industries that might have more budget, whether it's like a luxury retail or the legal industry or some of the healthcare industries, versus some where a very single mom and pop store that maybe doesn't have the budget to invest in reputation management, even if they do need it. The other post that we had that I think is great is local content and why it's important to small businesses. And I think that's another opportunity if you're offering review management to your clients, is different types of local content that's going to be valuable to your customers, and that you can offer as a service. Part of that is obviously link building and connecting to local people in local businesses and your community in your area. There was something I read recently that said that Google has a patent to try to help your rankings based on offline signals. So in the local SEO space, we're always talking about the signals that will help you get into the 3-pack, that will help you rank organically. And naturally, we know that's proximity, that someone who's searching for yours or your client's business is in the physical proximity of that business is most likely to come up. Reviews is one of the top factors when it comes to why you might appear in certain search results. I know Local SEO Guide has done some great studies on the signals that reviews send. Naturally, keywords, tying to your Google My Business, the keywords is your primary category, and the keywords even in your business name that appear, that would show up when people are searching for what your business has to offer and how important that is. What Google's patent does when it comes to the offline signals is they're saying that there is value in your presence in your community, even if it's not directly tied to links to your website. So one of the studies I believe Bill Slawski did was talking about how in a local newspaper or any sort of local business that has a reputation and has been established as a place in the community that's well respected, if you're mentioned there even without a direct link, Google is doing a better job of picking up those signals to potentially increase your ranking for your own business's website. I personally believe that that's going to continue to grow, in that Google is going to try more and more to connect the offline world with the online world, because ultimately, while their goal is driving, ad revenue, their secondary, which should be their real goal, is driving or getting people the right answers, having search results ultimately give you what you're looking for, especially in a local context. And they're going to continue to try and improve that. There's some scary stuff. I don't know how you all think. I'd love if you want to participate in the questions or the chat, any of your thoughts when it comes to, what Google is doing or what you predict they're doing, if it's a scary big brother situation or if it's getting better for yours and your clients' businesses digitally. But it's very interesting, the fact that there is a lot of data that's made available to Google that we don't necessarily opt out, which is like your physical location. For instance, the idea that I read in this patent that, like, if you've opted in, which they say they allow you to do, or they say they only track if you've opted in, that if you went to a store and then you left that store with your phone and then you returned with a friend, that increases the signals of that store because they know that that store is more popular. So, offline signals like that are potentially factors. But then, and I'm sure you all have experienced this, it came up in a Joy Hawkins of Sterling Sky brought it up in a Google forum thread, the idea that when it comes to the knowledge base, the busiest hours that show up on your knowledge panel are never accurate. And so it's hard to have faith that, it's like, do we give Google too much credit or not enough, in the sense of, like, I don't know if you've experienced this for you or your clients. Have you ever seen those, hours busy or busiest or 2 hour wait time at this business at this time, and if they're ever accurate? Because from this thread, you get the implication that it's not accurate at all. And so it's like, where is Google getting this data from, and why are they presenting data? If it's not right, why are they having it up there? Now, Philip said he heard from a client that Google is looking at all software that solicits reviews. Have you heard anything about this? So, Philip, I would guess more that third-party reviews matter. I know that's not what you're talking about, because you see the reviews from the web appear in the knowledge panel. And so I assume that while we've never seen definitively whether a Facebook recommendation or a BBB listing impacts your ratings, and Google has come out and said that it doesn't at different points, I still wouldn't be surprised if it does. I haven't heard anything about Google looking at software like Gradeus that impacts reviews, at least not from our clients. Haven't heard anything negative, and I feel like our customers would definitely sound the alarms if they were seeing any sort of negative impact from our reviews. But we're all playing in Google sandbox. Like, that's the tricky thing when it comes to local search and local SEO and having a digital presence, is we are all still dependent on, Google to some extent for our digital presence, and, have to play by their rules, and they can change the rules at any given point. One thing I'd love to throw out there too is, if this is something that any of you are interested in, I am always happy to just hop on a call and talk about local. I geek out over this stuff. So, please don't hesitate to email me directly, garrett@grade.us, and we can just chat reviews and local SEO and local search anytime, because I love talking about that stuff. So that's all I really had for this office hours. My hope is by the next office hours, we will be able to do a run through of the new integrations and how that works, so you guys can see how accessible it is. Great, Joanne. I really appreciate that feedback. Thank you, Micheline. Hopefully next month, I'm going to be able to walk through the first iteration of our integrations to show you what that looks like, and be able to, once you see it, you'll probably be like, oh, now I want to beta test that if there's potential use cases there. But the hope is to be able to walk through that. If not, December. I am going to move next office hours probably slightly earlier, so it doesn't overlap with Thanksgiving. but I will send out an email in the next Gradeus newsletter letting you know when that will be. Joanne did have a question. She said, question on the defaults, which is great to know about. Can there be multiple defaults, like a banking default, healthcare default? That would be awesome. I pretty sure, Joanne, that it's only the one singular default right now, but I think that having multiple defaults is actually a great idea. It kind of goes back to one of our ideas that we want to roll out probably next year, which is different email template campaigns for each profile, which is something that will be on the roadmap eventually, which is being able to have different types of emails. So right now, I believe it's just the one default, but I will let the product team know about that idea of having multiple defaults and let you know if we can get that on there. Philip, yes, sorry, correct. Garrett Gradeus is GARRETT at grade.us. Please don't hesitate to reach out. The other thing is, if any of y'all do have great experiences on Gradeus and want to participate in a case study, always looking for people to join me. Just hop on a call or fill out a form where we just talk about how Gradeus has helped you or your clients, and then we'd be happy to feature you on Gradeus and provide a link back to your website so you can get a little SEO link juice as well. One case study that's coming out that I'm really excited about, speaking of stats, Philip, is that it was for a podiatry office, and the gentleman, Carl is his name, who's helping with the case study, and we should be getting it out in the next couple of weeks. Anecdotally, not anecdotally, he did the research. He and his team helped this podiatric, that's awful, podiatry practice get reviews over the course of a year. They got about 54 reviews, and the interesting thing is that they used email drip campaigns from Gradeus. The interesting thing was, of the email drip campaigns, 3 emails, only 5 of the reviews out of the 54 reviews came from the first email. The other 49 reviews that came from the email drip campaign came from email 2 and email 3, which just is a reminder that it's not always personal when it comes to someone, not leaving a review on the first try. Using these email drip campaigns, typically they're from customers that appreciate your business, that want to say good things about your business, but they either forget or they don't have the time in the moment that they ask. The email drip campaigns for review requests are incredibly impactful and efficient and effective to make sure that you're sending out that gentle reminder the second time ago, and doing a third one for a final last ditch effort. I haven't heard of anyone adding more than that. I don't think there's anything wrong than adding a couple more email review requests, but by default we have the 3. You can always add more or less if you want to, but this case study definitely highlights that having more than just one is going to increase your reviews literally tenfold. So what was the interval between his emails? He used the Gradeus the Gradeus format, Mike. So it was 137 for the emails. So I thought that was a really cool, interesting takeaway from it. He started with a 3.3 rating, and by the end of the year, his client was up to a 4.7. So that's the type of case study I'm like me as a marketer, I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's exactly what I want to hear. So it was really cool. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you guys have a great rest of October and great November. I will send out that email before the holidays as to when our next office hours will be. You'll have my info to reach out if you want to talk about anything. You also have the support at grade.us info if you want to touch base with our awesome support team. I'll mention again, Sam is always looking for beta testers, so Sam at grade.us. And keep your eyes peeled. On Monday, I'll be publishing that podcast for the Agency Ahead podcast on Traject. You can just go to bytraject.com/podcasts to see all of the podcasts that we have. We also share them on our Twitter account, and I'm talking with Kanika Thakran, who has a variety of different ideas for your holiday campaigns. The two things, and I'll mention this before I go, that she recommended when it came to preparing for the holiday season is messaging around affordability and pricing. Basically, the idea that as we are all tightening the hatches with the pandemic and very conscious of the money, whether or not you are the cheapest option in your local area, just using some of that messaging in your Google posts, in your social media, in your content or your advertising around affordability is a great, resonating message that she believes will be effective this holiday season in the context of COVID. The other thing that I strongly believe in is really two things. The second one she said is mission-based companies. So really leaning into your mission-based company. Her example was REI and how during the Cyber Monday, Black Friday last year, they actually shut down their stores, which was counterintuitive, but they said go outside, like just go outside on what should be one of the most successful days of the years for them, and they leaned into their messaging of being an outdoor company, and they saw over the next few weeks like tenfold return on investment by not doing that day, which sounds crazy, but basically said if you are or work for clients who have female owned companies, Black owned companies, LGBTQ companies, like lean into that. Like if you have a mission that you support, like I don't think you should be ashamed of that messaging. You should be proud of it. And then the third part, which is kind of tied to that, especially when it comes to local, is community. The idea, especially now in the pandemic, where we all need to come together and support each other, is obviously you need to walk the walk and back your talk up with investing in your community, but really also broadcasting that in your message is how important community is to you, how much it is for you to support your own community, and that you are part of the community. And Kanika expects that to be a effective, resonating message this holiday season. So once again, thank you all. I really appreciate you all being customers of Gradeus. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day, spending with us. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any other ideas that you want to see in office hours or in our content, reach out to me. Have a great rest of your week. This is Garrett, signing off.